Hello there, I'm Nita Rose, and in this video we are going to talk about Volume 17 of Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest. And we are going to start off with Chapter 145 titled Versus World. Now we have Urza going up against one of the sisters, and pretty much this entire chapter is just Urza fighting against all these plushy monster dolls that one sister keeps summoning. In the end, Urza defeated one of the sisters but angered the other one, shows that she has the exact same type of ability that Urza has. If there's anything else that I like from this chapter, I would have mentioned it. But like I said, this chapter is just Urza fighting against one of the sisters and defeating her while leaving us on a cliffhanger. Now the battle in this one has a little bit more activity to it. They both manage to take each other down, and then the sister explains the plan that the Gold Owl is trying to achieve, and as destroying all dragons to create peace. Oh great, one of those destroy everything, create a new world plot. So cliche. But Urza doesn't seem to care, as she refuses to let her friends get killed and takes down the sister for good. Now both sisters have been defeated and the world that has been created around him has dissolved, and they all manage to find each other at the one place. But it's not over, as we see the Gold Hour Master Duke with a beat up Natsu clutched in his hand, claiming he has gotten what he wanted. And boy were people angry at this cliffhanger. And yeah, I was too. But not because Natsu lost, but seeing him being hung like a rag dog, and now I have to wait 2 more weeks to see the next chapter. I know some people are a little impatient when they see what they want to see, and what they see is what they can't believe after a cliffhanger like this. I will admit, I am one of them, but to keep my mind at ease and keep my patience in check, I'll just focus on other things in the meantime. I have done it plenty of times before and I could do it again, but still, this is brutal to look at. And they say Natsu can be a beast, but now they can see he's gotten out-beast by another. But boy, when chapter 174 came out, I felt emotionally distraught. And I know I'm not the only one, because people on Twitter/X has some complaints about this chapter, because not only that we see Natsu get beat up by this monster with their battle off screen, but also Athena was taken down as well. Now we have Athena too using Dragon Slayer magic that she stole from Natsu, Wendy, and Rogue to take down everyone else, but then Duke ordered her to eliminate them. Yeah, I didn't know what to say when I first saw this chapter. Actually, it took me a while to think about what I'm going to say on this review. But after a couple of days, I decided to go back to the chapter and reread it. And it got me thinking, you know what, this show is still going. And then we get Sting, Yukino, and Minerva searching for the alchemist that'll create the Philosopher's Stone. For once they find the place which the old man told them where he's at, they are now being attacked by vines, and each one of them had to take them down. And also, I love seeing the human forms of Pisces in this art style. I simply just love it. But then the vines stop as the alchemist has revealed himself, as he turned out to be the son of the other man, and was asked to create the Philosopher's Stone for their quest of creating a form for Virenus, the gold dragon. But he told him that he couldn't, because seeing it's the most secretive technique that even the most powerful alchemist can't perform. But then we get the other guy, who is the other half of him, and they both decide to create the stone together, and they transform into a woman. Yeah, I don't understand it either, but I'm sure the next chapter will hopefully explain this. Which right now, it didn't. Sting was still surprised to see 2 grown man transform into a young woman who is the person that'll create the Philosopher's Stone. Minerva explains the situation to her and why they need the Philosopher's Stone. She understands, but she also knows that the dragon is the guild itself, and they need to find a way to separate his soul. But Yukino told her about using Wendy's magic to do the task, but then Minerva told her about her magic being stolen by Duke, and then Sting puts his faith in Natsu into defeating him. That's when Natsu gets back up, as he has not finished with Duke yet. And trust me, there is no plot armor here. What really surprised me was the lightning ability that he gained from Loxus back at Tenra Island. And believe it or not, I totally forgot about this ability, only because I haven't really seen Natsu use it that often. When he does, it's only for a short time. But you know, I'm not the only one. There are a couple of people out there on the fan base on Twitter that they also forgot about the lightning mode that Natsu possesses. But there are others that say that this is a complete plot armor. I'm sorry, but how? It's not like the power came out of nowhere. He's always had it, but he's never actually used it on its own. He's always had the combination between the lightning and the fire, but he never actually contained the lightning by itself. But now he's done it for the first time and he used it to defeat Duke in that one-shot panel, and then after that, Wendy wakes up after regaining her magic along with Rogue. Although Duke may be down, but they still have Athena too and Virenus to deal with. And speaking of Virenus, before Natsu took down Duke, he claims that he's the voice of Virenus, which got me thinking Duke was just a puppet of the dragon. Could be a possibility. Now that Natsu has taken down Duke and with Wendy set free with her magic back, now the only thing left to deal with is Athena too, which the original Athena took down in one shot, and now she's done. I guess that's it for Athena too. Now they just need to put their plan into action in defeating the gold dragon Virenus, which is separating its concept from the guild, and that is what Wendy is for, but they still need the Philosopher's Stone to give it a physical body. Luckily, seeing Yukino and Minerva came back with the stone that the two old men have created. Now Wendy and the other Dragon Slayers are ready to take on Virenus once it's separated from the guild. Now Athena is the one who's gonna use the Philosopher's Stone to give the dragon a body, since this item is actually a part of her. You see, it turns out that the old man that they found earlier turned out to be the real Duke, and that he created Athena not to be just a weapon, but also become the vessel of the dragon. She sacrifices her own body into becoming the vessel of the dragon Virenus, much to Lucy's dislike. Yeah, I guess I should talk about this. You see, a lot of the fans of this character seem to feel pity, upset, or sad for Lucy when she lost Athena. In fact, people are comparing this scene to the Eclair scene from the Princess of the Phoenix movie. Yeah, I can see some similarities between the two, and that gives an emotional impact not only on Lucy, but the people watching this scene. It's the same thing with Michelle in Aquarius. I can understand why people feel for Lucy when they saw her sobbing for Athena's sacrifice. But as for me, well, I feel nostalgic about this. Although this is a sad moment, it didn't really get that much of an impact on me, unlike with Eclair, Aquarius, and even Michelle. My nostalgic reason for Lucy losing Athena? Well, for one thing, they never interact with each other that much. The only time they had a conversation was the first time Lucy talked to Athena about the emotions that she thought she never had. Another reason is that Athena had a little screen time with Lucy. I mean, Eclair had more interaction with Lucy in that 1 hour movie than Athena did in the entire arc. So Lucy sobbing over Athena's sacrificial death did not have that much of an impact on me as it did with her fans. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a sad moment, but it's not that sad. Not compared to Eclair and Aquarius, because those two were tearjerkers to me, and nothing can top that. Now that the gold dragon has appeared, Natsu is the first to go in for an attack. Lucy wanted to stop him because it's Athena's body, but Natsu knows that and he's willing to fight for her sake as well. And it's not surprising that most of the fans knew he was going to say that to her, as to be expected. But upon reading this chapter, I'm starting to notice that this dragon god is almost unbeatable. Page after page, everyone's giving it their all. Urza sword her swords around, Wendy's Dragon Slayer enchantment, Sting and Rose Unison Raid, Jalal and Gray attacked, did nothing, and even Natsu's flames had no effect. And also, since this is the gold dragon god, everything it touches, it turns everything into, well, gold. Even its own breath caused everything to change into gold. Natsu goes in for another attack and motivates Lucy into getting her into the fight, knowing very well how she feels about this. Lucy realizes what's at stake here, and thanks to Natsu's motivation, she joins the fight. Then she discovers that Natsu's lightning and fire abilities are the keys into defeating this dragon. Now they plan on having Wendy enchanted all the magic powers from the others into Natsu, but Natsu tells them that he doesn't need it and gets all fired up, leaving all the others, well, with these expressions. Yeah, you know what? Let us not do that plot armor again, and have Natsu just use his own strength and activate his lightning flame dragon mode that he can use on this dragon. It's just like Lucy said, his flame and lightning ability has effects even though it doesn't look like it does. Let's not forget that the last dragon, Ignia, wants to fight Natsu in a one-on-one battle without the help of any of his friends. And I also think this is part of the growth of Natsu's character, as plan on taking down this dragon by himself without the enchantment channel power-up. You guys want to know what happens next? Natsu gets to power up anyway. Wendy and the others enchanted all their magic powers into Natsu without his consent. Now I know it would help him out in defeating this dragon, but I think he should have just done it with his own strength and power, as I mentioned in the last chapter. Even though the power-up did help him out, it still doesn't seem satisfying, as we see this dragon giving Natsu that expression of seriousness. And also throughout the battle, battle, Lucy is thinking about Athena and prays for Natsu's victory. And guess what happens next? The dragon gets his head busted off. Yeah, things are starting to get intense. After the battle gets serious between Natsu and the dragon, things start to heat up a little bit as the dragon flies up, creating a golden shower. No, not that type of golden shower. Get your mind out of the gutter. Gold started to rain down on everyone as it's affecting Natsu and the crew, making their bodies into gold. But Natsu still has a trick up his sleeve. He told Happy to bring him to the dragon and then throw him into its breath. Now here, while Natsu is inside the flames, he sees and hears Athena saying that she's meant to have a future, but she sacrificed herself for the people who showed her their kindness to defeat the dragon. So Natsu ate the golden flames that he obtained from the dragon and Athena's words, using those flames to snap off the dragon's neck. And then after that, the gold dragon has been sealed off as seen on the wall tablet, but at the cost of Athena's life. But is it really a cost? Because we see her later that she ends up coming back. Apparently her subconscious and personality has transferred in the body of Athena too. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm happy she's back, but the whole sacrifice seems kind of pointless now. They literally pulled a mocker off on her, and I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. Now, the only dragon left is Ignia, and you want to see another surprise? The Sonaro sisters turned out to be the disciples of Ignia who were brainwashed by the gold dragon Virenus. Once the dragon is dead, the brainwashing was lifted and the sisters have decided to return to their true master. Now that that's out of the way, Lucy hugs Athena for her return. Sabretooth are returned to their guild with a large bag of gold that they literally taken from Virenus' body. The fake Duke has disappeared. Athena is staying with Alceria learning more to be human, and the group is off to their next destination, which is towards the Fire God's castle in search for Ignia. I wonder how the next arc is gonna go. Hopefully a lot better than this one, because I will admit this one is probably the weakest out of all of them. Because for one thing, Sabretooth didn't do much besides doing some side tasks and helping Natsu find his kidnapped comrades. Honestly, the only member from the group who was somewhat successful is Yukino, as she learned how to use Stardress. Although I might be happy for her, this is still underwhelming because of how quickly she learned it. Other than that, Sabretooth was pretty much on the sideline. Also, the fight with Virenus wasn't that much of an interesting fight. It's just Natsu gained a power-up in defeating this thing. It's really nothing new. Now that the arc is over, you know what that means. It's filler chapter time! Yeah, I kinda saw this coming because I've noticed that after every story arc ends in Fairy Tail 100 Quest, there's always gonna be a filler chapter before they start a new arc. And this is the chapter of Eric, the Poison Dragon Slayer. You know, I was wondering when he was gonna show up, despite him being a filler. So anyways, the chapter starts off as Eric doing an narration of his current lifestyle with his fiancée, Kiana. Kiana reminds him not to read her mind as she feels uncomfortable about it, but he can't help it. Then she asks him if he'd be interested in joining Fairy Tail, but he doesn't like the guild so much. But Kiana suggests that he should at least check it out. So they both end up at the guild, and Eric started to read everybody's mind to see if he can get to hear some embarrassing stories about Natsu. So Eric starts listening on other people's thoughts, and some of them made him feel uncomfortable. He suddenly hears someone calling him inside his own thoughts, and it turns out to be Warren, who pretty much outbested Eric in his little mind games, and now Warren has become Eric's new mortal enemy.
You're joking.
My reactions exactly. And because of that experience of mind tricking criticism, Eric won't be joining the guild anytime soon. God damn you, Warren. Now let us see what the next chapter is. Oh, right, we're gonna talk about these two. How unexpected. Okay, for those of you who support this pair and that want to skip me alive, I'm just gonna say, I don't hate this shipping, but I don't like it either. To me, this shipping is okay. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. It's just okay. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing right about it either. I remember on the Twitter, I posted about feeling uncomfortable about the shipping, but not in the way you people think. Some of you are probably thinking, oh, how could someone as gorgeous as Anna be with a hideous man? No, that's not what made me feel uncomfortable. What made me feel uncomfortable about this is that Anna's husband from 400 years ago could possibly be the ancestor of Ichiya, and so this guy is pretty much dating his grandma, and that is the uncomfortable part. Now, I could be wrong about this, and that Anna's husband is just a guy who looks like Ichiya, and they're not exactly blood related, as it's not really confirmed, but it's also not confirmed that he isn't. You see, I've always had this unpleasant feeling of blood siblings or relatives dating each other and having kids. However, in some situations, there are some times when it feels natural for those two to hook up, because for one thing, they may not have anyone else besides each other. For example, in the movie Lagoon, where the two children that are cousins end up stranded on a deserted island and had to rely on each other in order to survive, and eventually fall in love. Now, this will be a big no-no, but I decided to give this one a pass because it's actually not as creepy as I thought. There's also another movie called The Flower in the Attic, where the two eldest siblings fell in love and had babies after being trapped in that attic for years. But this one seems to be more fictional than reality, and I've only seen the trailer, but I have read the overview on it, and so I really can't give a full analysis on this one, and share my opinion on their sibling love. Again, another big no-no, but I'll make this one a pass as well, because these siblings seems like they were cut off from society. I don't want to say this is okay, but during the situation that they're in, I guess it will bound to happen. However, if you're just a normal guy like anyone else, and you have all these kind of women wanting to date you, kind and pretty women, but you have no interest in them, but you're interested in f***ing your own sister. Like, what the f***? Sorry, but there will be a big red flag there. Now, as for Anna and Ichiya, I will have to say they're not as bad as I thought from the first time I read this chapter. Maybe they'll eventually grow on me, but I am going to say it again. This shipping is okay. Now, one other thing I do like about this chapter is that having Lucy break the fourth wall whenever you see her in a panel, which does make me chuckle, I'm not gonna lie. But the funny and also the most annoying part is her complaint about being in a bikini in Ichiya's imagination, when she has a star dress combination that she has no problem showing off in the middle of a battlefield. In fact, now that I think about it, most of her star dress always seem to be some kind of bikini type outfit. Now all that is out of the way, there is something I wanted to discuss back in chapter 153 about the sacrifices in the series. Seriously, a lot of these sacrifices in the series doesn't accomplish anything to the plot because these people just come back. The only sacrifices that I believe is successful is Eclair from the first movie, Igneel, and Zira. Sure, there are some painful ones to watch and think that they're never gonna come back, like Eclair and Simon from the Tower of Heaven arc. But those are just minor characters, even though they do have an important enough role in the series. But then there's somebody like Makarov who also died like 3 times, I think, in the series, yet the creator decided to keep him. Another one is Aquarius. Although it is painful for Lucy to go through such harsh and painful decision, the spirit never actually died. But there is an individual who did die, and we're never gonna see him unless Natsu has to be a subconscious state. Like during the time in the final arc where 2 seeds inside him and each one tried to take dominance, and another time was when his soul was taken out of his body, and then he ends up in his own beta heaven. Of course, I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about, Igneel, the other individual who I think the sacrifice was successful. The reason I agree with this is that Igneel's plan in action was to prevent his son and the other dragon slayers from turning into a dragon. But all the other sacrifices in the show seem almost meaningless. I know there's Mavis and Zareth who will manage to break the curse of each other's immortality, and later they end up being reincarnated within 1 year. Okay, seriously, I thought reincarnation would take longer than that. But you know what? It's anime logic, so I'm not gonna question it. And speaking of Mavis, the last person whose sacrifice was successful to me was Zira, who turned out to be an illusion created by Mavis's magic and her subconscious mind. The real Zira died 7 years prior, and Mavis was desperate trying to save her, and without realizing it, she created an illusion of her. But once the truth came out about Zira, Mavis realized that she couldn't stay, because having Zira around actually takes a toll on her magic power and her health. And so Mavis had to let her go, as it's for the best. Now, some other sacrifices seem to be meaningful, but most of them are kind of pointless because in the end they end up coming back. And I'm sorry, but that just doesn't satisfy me. I realize that the reason I feel nostalgic about Athena's sacrifice is because I knew deep down that she was gonna come back. Having Athena come back is no different than having Makara rise from the dead. To me, that's never been some kind of salvation, and that's what bothers me the most. And that is all I have to say on the matter. And that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out my other parts on TikTok, and don't forget to look me on Discord and X. And I'll see you all next time. Need a Rose out.